Hello and welcome to the Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friend. If you've been looking for a podcast geared towards your growth, self-awareness, navigating your brain's daily mind drama, and deep inner work to become your highest and best self, you are in the perfect place. Let's get started. Hello, my podcast friends. I hope that you all had an amazing weekend. This was a really great weekend for me. I really enjoyed it. I got a lot of things done that I needed to get done. I was able to meet one of my clients that was in Inner Mastery that I've only known on Facebook for a little bit. And we had a beautiful dinner together. We drank a glass of Prosecco. We ordered the yummiest food. I realized that she is my soulmate when it comes to ranch dressing. We laughed about that because when she was ordering her meal, she said, "Can you bring ranch for dipping?" And I was going to ask the waitress the same thing. It just wasn't my turn. And I was like, my girl. I love it. I am a total dipper. I love dipping my food in sauce. My husband's the opposite. He doesn't really love sauce, but I am a sauce person. I want to dip my fries. I want to dip my chicken. I dip everything, and I love ranch so much. I love all the sauces. Chick-fil-A, it has my soul with that Chick-fil-A sauce. It is so good. Do you want a little bit of fry with that sauce? I could just drink it. So good. Also, what I wanted to ask you lovely listeners is that if you have been listening to this podcast for a while and you have never left a written review, it would mean so much to me if you would do that for me. I love going and reading the reviews. It helps to boost the podcast to where more people can find me, and it makes me more searchable as well. If you're an iTunes listener, I don't think written reviews are so much a thing on the other platforms, but on iTunes it is. And I know that I have a lot of iTunes listeners just from the stats that show in the podcast hosting site that I use. So if you've never left a review and you are getting value from this, or there's something specific you want to hear more about, I would absolutely love to see and read your review. That would mean so very much to me. So thank you in advance if you're going to do that. I so love and appreciate you. And then before we hop into today's subject, I really want to share with you guys a little bit about the Becoming Her Mastermind, because that launched on January 1st. And like I said, I am building this community/program from scratch. There's so much that I know I'm going to do with it as it grows, but right now it's in that beginning stage. And so we've had a few more women sign up in the program, and at this point I have now, I think, done 3 live coaching sessions. So every single Sunday I get in the Facebook group and I coach a topic live. And then on Wednesday, I host a Zoom Q&A where the women can get on there and either discuss what's coming up for them from the topic that we coached on Sunday, or they can coach on whatever it is they want. So they literally have time dedicated to them to show up and get coached however they want. And it is just so fun to be in that group, lifting each other up, like in the moments where I'm being honest and vulnerable. I'm sharing my mind drama, going through it, like building the business, building the programs, telling the ladies what I've got coming up. They're in there sharing their mind drama, and I'm coaching them through that, and they're supporting each other through that. It has been an incredible 3 weeks. And what I wanted to share is that if you enjoy this podcast and the topics are something that are changing your life and you want to dive further into this work and have access to me for a lifetime where you're getting coached on these topics, but directly related to something that you need, in your life, because everybody's life is different. So each person probably applies these topics to different things in their life. But if you feel like you need further guidance, I want to welcome you and invite you into my Becoming Her mastermind. And I just encourage you to go check out the different options on MacyRenee.com under group coaching, because I think that this is going to be something so fun and valuable, especially looking at it a year from now. I'm excited to see how it grows and what more I'm able to bring to it. I'm just giving all the value that I can in that group, like pouring my heart out, and it feels amazing. So also, another thing is I've created a newsletter. So if you want to receive random newsletters when I am feeling inspirational or I have something to share and you want more information, then all you have to do is go to MacyRenee.com under the freebies section, and you'll see a join my newsletter box, and you just put your email in, I'm assuming, and then you will be added to the list and you'll start getting my newsletters. And I don't send them out every day, but I'm going to send them out anytime I feel inspired or feel like there's something that somebody needs to hear. Now, I think the last newsletter that I did was talking about how life always happens for us, and I actually wanted to address that on the podcast to give you some real life examples of this, and to try and encourage you to make it through whatever storms you're going through, because I know in the midst of a storm, it can be very difficult to feel like it's never going to end and that you're never going to get out of it, and that life just keeps happening to you and all of these bad things keep happening to you, and it can feel very exhausting and defeating. But what I want to encourage you to think about is the principle around life is always happening for us. It is always serving us. We may not know why in the middle of the storm, but once you get out of that storm, you will eventually see why you were put through that. I really, truly believe, after the type of life experiences that I've had, starting at a very young age for me, when I was growing up, I just never understood how all of these horrible things could happen to me. And I lived very much in a victim mentality. A victim mentality is everything bad always happens to me. If that is in your language and you are constantly asking, why is this happening to me? It is a victim mentality. It feels so very real at the time. But I want you to switch the way that you're thinking about that and say, how is this serving me? Life is always supporting me. Life happens for me. There is a reason I am being put through this. Why? And there's a few different lessons that you can take away from it. So something that I've tried to share in different episodes of the podcast is that when you declare that you want something in the universe will say, prove it. And you will go through some storms when you're trying to become your best and highest self, when you're trying to change something about yourself that's going to make you better, when you set out and put your word to something that you're going to do differently, or you're going to create new habits, or you're going to commit to something, you will be tested. The universe wants to see how serious you are, so it says prove it. And you will encounter a storm. I promise you will encounter a storm, because what is happening is the universe testing you to see if you're in integrity and are you being who you say that you're going to be. But what can also happen is that you are experiencing things in life because they are meant for you. They are a part of your purpose. They are a part of your story. They are going to serve you. Like whatever it is going to serve you later on down the road, okay? So what you have to really be clear on whenever life is happening for you, right? Not to you, but for you. I step back and I say, is this happening for me because I declared something that I wanted and the universe is trying to make me step up to the plate to honor my word and be a woman in integrity? Or is this happening for me because this is going to be something that maybe a client needs help getting through one day? Or maybe I'm going to come across a stranger that needs to hear this advice because I've gone through it and I can help them. Maybe it is the one thing that saves someone's life later on down the road because I've experienced it and I've survived it. You never know why in the moment, but in hindsight, usually things become very clear. And now looking back at what I experienced in my childhood and young adulthood, a lot of the clients that come and work with me are in my energetic vibration, but usually maybe just a few steps behind me, which is typically a really good coaching client relationship in this industry. Like when you hire a coach that knows where you're at because they've been there and they're just a few steps ahead so they can pull you out of it. Like that is perfection in my opinion. And what I have noticed in being a life coach is that one, everything that I went through in my life is what led me to doing this work. You would not be listening to this podcast right now if I hadn't gone through everything that I went through when I used to ask, why is this always happening to me? I believe now it wasn't happening to me, it was happening for me because I was meant to share these messages full of wisdom, guidance, love, support, compassion, passion, all of the things to help you as a listener, whether you just listen to the podcast or you read the newsletters or you follow me on Facebook or you follow me on Instagram or you hire me as your coach, whatever it is. I believe that everything that I experienced was to help share this message because it's going to help somebody else. And what this can look like is different for every single person in life. What you're experiencing can help someone that you don't even know that you're going to help. And it may feel very dark and lonely. And I want to tell you, if you're in the midst of darkness right now, that I want to encourage you to fully lean into that and believe that this is serving you in some way. And that although you might not be able to see out right now because the storm is crashing in on you, and I have been there, that you're going to come out of that storm a stronger person. One of the most powerful sermons I remember, like I went to church my entire life. I was raised by my grandparents, as I told you guys, and they were in church every single Sunday. My grandma usually did choir practice, so I was at church like a Wednesday and a Thursday because she was practicing. And I went to Catholic school the first, I think, 10 years of my schooling, like preschool all the way up to 8th grade. So we did church every single Thursday, and we usually had practice every single Wednesday for like the hymns and all of that. And so I've heard a lot of sermons in my day. All of that to say, I've heard several. And actually one that impacted me the most was as a young adult. My husband and I used to spend every New Year's Eve in church because that was what his mom did. Every New Year's Eve, her thing was going to church. And I think it was something that his granny used to do. So that was important to him. So when we first started dating, the first 5 years that we dated, we brought in the new year in church next to his mom and, a few of his other family members if they were there. And one of the sermons one year that the pastor shared was about driving through this horrible storm. He talked about how he was in the car and the rain started pouring down and the hail started pouring down and the clouds were really dark and they couldn't see anything ahead of them. And the passenger kept saying, we need to turn around. We need to pull over. Look, every car that we're passing is pulling over. Everybody's stopping. Everybody has their flashers on. We need to pull over. We need to pull over. And the driver kept saying, we can just take it easy. I trust. And the passenger, again, was very uneasy. And they're like, we can't see anything. It's hailing. It's so dangerous. We need to pull over. Do you see all the flashers? Like, we're never going to get out of this storm. We're never going to get out of this storm. And the driver is like, no, if we keep going, I know that we can get out of the storm. And after about 20 minutes of riding out this storm, they see the sunshine peeking through the clouds, and they keep driving, and the rain lessens, and the hell goes away. And all of a sudden, he says he looks in his rearview mirror and he can see this entire storm behind him, and he can see all of the cars that are pulled over with their flashers on, waiting for the rain to end. And at that moment, his lesson in that was to keep on going. Now, obviously, don't take me so literal that the next time you're in a rainstorm, you're not willing to be safe. But it's funny because I heard that at probably 19 years old. I'm 28 years old now, and that has resonated with me ever since. And even down to when I'm driving in a storm and I start to feel the fear and I start to worry about, is my car going to hydroplane? Should I pull over? And I see cars pulling over and they have their flashers on and I'm feeling uneasy. I really sink into that sermon that I remember and say, the storm will pass. This too shall pass. Life is always happening for us. For some reason, that always comes to mind. And it's always very interesting to me when I get through the storm. I'm driving very, very safely and cautiously and slowly. And if I absolutely felt unsafe, I will pull over. But it has always been interesting to me since that when I make it through the storm, I look in my rearview mirror and I see all the cars with their flashers on, and I see the clouds just dangling over them with no end in sight, and think, I continued through the storm. And I really feel like that is what life is about, and that those lessons on the other side of that storm are for us every single time. So while you might not understand why you're going through what you're going through, I promise you that there probably is a very significant reason, and you might not know it. You might not know why this year. You might not know why next year, but maybe 5 years from now you will. Maybe 6 months from now you will. And you'll understand why you're going through the things that you have been through. And one day you'll smile with gratitude and say, I'm so glad that that happened for me, and that that was meant for me, because it was given to me because I was strong enough to survive it. And now I can help tons of people because of it, or even just one person that needs your help, even just one person. And I witness that all the time when my clients come to me. Their stories in some way are so similar to mine, and they feel so incredibly stuck. And I just kind of listen and smile and say, I know how to help you through this because I've been through this storm. It may not look exactly like yours, but I've been through something so similar that I can feel what you're feeling in my bones. And I know how to grab your hand and pull you through the storm. I know how to keep driving through this storm where I can see the sunshine on the other side. And that is an amazing thing. So, I know this is a shorter episode, but I really want to encourage you to find the gratitude in the moments that feel the hardest. What can you be grateful for in the moments that feel the most tough? Where can you find that ability to be thankful? Sometimes I've gone through things where I'm like, thank God it was me because I don't know that so-and-so could have handled this, or thank God it was me because I know that I'm going to be able to use this in a very powerful way one day. And in the midst of going through it, it didn't feel like that. It just felt very much like, why is this always happening to me? I don't understand what I've done wrong. I don't understand why the universe is shatting on my head. I don't understand why I'm the one that is constantly experiencing things like this. And I really think, again, it comes down to two things. The universe is testing you if you declare that there's something that you want to do. And two, it could be happening for you for a greater purpose. And actually, 3, what I just thought about is that if you have not learned a lesson in something in your life that you've needed to learn, but you're not learning it, it will keep occurring over and over and over again until you learn it. So sometimes when you're saying, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? If it's a cycle that keeps repeating, ask yourself if you really said it was going to be different. Are you going to change? And I see this sometimes happen in relationships. Like, I'm never going to end up in a relationship like this again. And then you get out of that relationship that felt like the problem, but then you yourself don't experience any growth or changes, like you didn't learn the lesson. And so the next time you're in a relationship, you start experiencing the same things you were experiencing in your last relationship that felt miserable. So you get out of that relationship and then you go into another relationship, and then that person is exactly like the person before that one. And you're like, why is this always happening to me? Why am I always attracting this type of partner? Why? Like, what did I do wrong? And again, life is happening for you. And this is an opportunity from God, the universe, whoever you believe in, whatever you believe in, saying, are you going to change? Are you going to do what you said you're going to do? Are you in integrity? Have you learned the lesson? Like, I want you to know that this is always for you. This is always, always for you. So if you have any questions about that, if there's anything that feels difficult about this, if you need help with your specific scenarios on any of the topics that we discuss in the podcast, I would so love to invite you to the Becoming Her Mastermind, where we do this work all the time, where it is something that we dedicate ourselves to every single week. And I'm coaching on the topic every single week, and then you have the ability to ask your questions and be coached in that group every single week. I'm so excited about what this year can bring. I'm so excited to continue giving you content. If this is the only way that we interact together, I want you to know that I love it and that I appreciate you, and that I'm so thankful for you supporting the podcast. And again, if you're getting something out of this and you've never left a review on iTunes, please do so. Please, I so would appreciate that. It means a ton. And that if you ever have any questions about anything, know that you can reach out to me. I typically try to put my email in the, show notes is what they're called, the comment section. So if you ever have questions about anything, feel free to reach out. I've had also some people reach out to me on social media and just say, hey, this is my situation. What's the best way to go about, getting help for this? Like, is this something that you teach in a program? Is this something that you can just fill me in like a little snippet about right now? What's the best way to go about this situation? And I'm just honest about it. If I feel like I can answer it really quickly or direct you to a podcast, then I will do that. If I feel like it's something that probably could use some exploration and some deeper work and a few different things are going on, then I will recommend something that I think is helpful, even if it's not a program of mine. So I want you in 2020 to know that you're supported and that you're loved and that you're seen and that you have the ability to do so many things, and that whatever it is that you desire in your life, you can do. And that if it feels impossible, it is only yourself that's keeping you from where you want to be. Whether that's your mindset, whether that's inner work that needs to be acknowledged, no matter what it is, if it's self-development and becoming your highest self, you can have anything that you desire in your life. And I want you to see that that's possible. That is why I'm putting myself out there so much this year with a newsletter, with the podcast, with Becoming Her, the mastermind, where people pay a very low one-time cost or a few monthly payments, and then they get access to me for life. Like, that stuff scares me. It does, and it's challenging me to give it my all, even when it doesn't necessarily make sense. It's like I'm pouring so much value and I'm asking so little. All I'm asking is that people show up for themselves, and I'm giving everything, and that scares me because I know the value that I'm bringing. I could ask for a lot more monetarily, and I'm not doing that because I just want to serve. So I'm putting myself out there as much as I can, and it feels scary, but I'm also being vulnerable on all of my platforms and sharing like this is real life. So I'm excited for you guys to see where I am in a year, and I'm excited to see where you all are in a year. And I want to tell you that when you send me messages on social media, especially people who I've never ever met or that I never even knew were listening to the podcast, when you all send me messages about how this stuff is helping you, it just fuels me. It lights a fire in me to keep going, because I'm human and I get down on myself and I say, oh my God, they're not even going to want to listen to this topic, or oh my God, they're not even going to want to do this program. I'm human. So I have my own self-doubts. I have my own mind drama and self-sabotaging, and I experience everything that you experience, but I use the tools that I have invested in and that I've learned to be the best version of me every single day. And then I bring my best to the table for you all. And I want you to know that when you share that you're growing with me, like when you are honest with me about this is helping me grow, this is really like changing things in my life, that it encourages me to keep going on the days where my brain is telling me I'm not doing enough, or I'm not, I'm missing something, or whatever the mind drama is for that day, because quite frankly, as a business owner, you have it all the time. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. And I know this was a shorter episode and just kind of straight and to the point. But I wanted to share that. It was something that I shared in my newsletter, and I wanted to share it here. And if you have podcast topics you ever want to hear about, like something you're struggling with in your life, feel free to message me on social media, Instagram especially, and just say, hey, can you talk about this on your podcast and how to get over it or how to work through it? And I will. I promise I will. I will write it down and I will. So I love you all, and I hope you have an amazing week. Bye, guys.